Hey there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Beck. So, Beck, welcome.
Hello.
So, Beck, can you please tell us your full type?
Yep, I'm a ENFP, double masculine, consume, play, blast, sleep, social number 4.
All right, cool. And what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing results?
I wasn't that surprised because I got it pretty close. I think I only got the modalities off. I thought it was audio, um, and I thought I was blast last. So, but after I sent the typing video and I was like talking to more people about it and stuff, it kind of made more sense that I was sleep last. I was seeing that more, so even that wasn't a huge shock. And the modalities and stuff are slowly starting to make more sense. Yeah, so not a huge shock, I guess.
Yeah, so you are a double masculine ENFP. That's not one of the more common ones.
Hmm.
Most ENFPs I think are either double feminine or audios. So
Yeah.
now that you know you're like the punchiest kind of ENFP, what
Yeah.
do you take from that? And does that make sense for you since like maybe it explains a lot of things about yourself, or maybe it's a more of a
Um, I don't know. It's kind of a surprise. I don't really see myself as that punchy, but I guess like the fact that my two demon functions are masculine
yeah.
makes sense because I do tend to have a big swing. I think I don't know if Dave said it in one of the videos or in the audio he sent me, but he was like, double masculine's basically double feminine because I've got like the feminine FI and NE as well. So I'm pretty like movable. But when I get like triggered, I can really swing and kind of go like Hulk mode and it comes out of nowhere. So I kind of see that side of it. But yeah, I don't know. I only got my type like a few days ago. So maybe in like a month when I've like kind of processed it more, it'll make more sense. But yeah, that's my current take on it.
Okay, that's cool. Well, why don't we start with that then? So your first animal is double feminine. So actually, this is the one that's going to be your default, which is super interesting. It's NF,
Yeah.
NF and
Yeah.
double feminine. How do you personally experience that double feminine first animal of yours?
Um, I mean, well, I guess it's kind of like, the air I breathe or whatever, so it's hard to see, but also makes sense. I mean, I'm always consuming things. I normally have like a few topics that I'm interested in, kind of like on rotation. Um, but I find that I have to like, and this could also kind of like be a sleep last thing as well. I kind of forgetful and I have to like re-consume things again. And I also struggle, like I have to like change the channels a lot. Like I get bored very quickly and I'm kind of like wishy-washy. Um, I don't really want to just stick with one topic. It's very like movable and like flowy and stuff, which kind of makes sense. And I mean, even though like I always like thought of myself like, oh, I can't be sleep last because like I'm like more of an introvert, but now I realize it's not really the case. But when I'm alone, I'm always consuming something. Like I'm never really processing that much like sleep energy. It's all just like, what can I learn now? What podcast can I listen to? Like what show can I watch? Like that sort of thing.
It makes sense how when you consume something, you forget because your consumes double feminine. So like right after you consume it, it's gone already, and then you have to reconsume it again. So um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, can totally see that aspect of that. I do have a question being a fellow ENFP. So I have demon consume, which is weird for an ENFP. Um,
Yeah.
but even though I have demon consume, I consume a lot. Like I just can't stop. So if I have it as a demon and I can't stop, like how are you guys functioning with that, that
That's a
because I'm like I'm always
that's,
thinking about like you guys, like the lead NEFIs. I'm like, how are you guys able to like to function, Because like it's already so hard to like get stop doing it. And I have it as a demon already, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I struggle to function a lot of the time. So I don't know. It's like nice, but sometimes I get so like sick of it. I'm like, I just want my brain to like fucking shut up and like stop, but I can't stop like thinking things over, like thinking about what this might mean, like drawing new conclusions. Sometimes it's kind of like torture.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's and I get like burnt out from it, but then then maybe I might have like a sleep crash, but then I go straight back to, okay, let's like read this article, or let's do this, or like yeah, it's just like I'm addicted to it, even though it ruins my life sometimes.
Right. Exactly. It does ruin your life. So I'm just, that's why I was curious. That's why I went to, learn how you guys are coping with that like lead NF consume, right? Like for me personally, I do have savior blast. So after consuming enough stuff, I will start feeling really bad. And I'm like, I need to produce something. So maybe I'll do like video editing for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll get ADD and start watching videos. And it's almost like automatic. I can't help it. Like I go back to the consume. It's just like, before I know I'm watching
Yeah,
something, I'm like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. You need to be like producing, blasting, right? Um,
yeah,
so because I do have blast and consume in my in the middle, so I'm relatively balanced with those. I want to ask you for yourself. You do have both blast and consume also activated. You have demon blast, but your blast is double masculine, so you can see it very um you can see it, like there's no way you cannot see it, like anyone that has a double masculine animal, it's like the way I can describe it is there's like a gravitational pull towards it, you know um like have you seen that movie A Beautiful Mind? Like there's like those people that's like walking all the time no matter where the main character goes. So I feel like that's like a double masculine animal, like it's like there, it's like you cannot avoid it, it's always there. But you have it as a
yes.
demon. So what's how do you balance your consume with your blast, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't fully know. I think maybe it's hard to say, because I thought I was like blast last, because I do get, when I notice I'm like blasting at someone, like talking at them, not just doing like the consume info dump. I just like, it like happens, and it kind of like spills out, and it feels a bit embarrassing, and I don't trust myself. I'm like, I feel like I don't know enough to be talking about this. And people always like to me, oh, you always cut yourself off or interrupt yourself when you're like telling us something. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why. Like I feel guilty for like doing it, but I think it does happen. The step, like I guess, um, at the times when it does happen, I always feel like embarrassed afterwards. It's like I can't control it, and it's not completely in my awareness. It's kind of like just out of reach. Um, but even in terms of like blasters, in like, like getting like starting projects, getting things, done, I also really struggle with that as well. I have moments every now and then where I might like start a few projects, and then I will just drop them like 5 minutes later, or I go to start them and I'm like, this was more fun in my head, and now I have to do things in sensoriality. I don't want to do that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the only thing I can see. I mean, I've always been more of a chatty person, but I don't know if that's necessarily like a blast thing. Just
Right.
my like, yeah,
Right. I mean, it could be play, because I'm thinking now based on what you said. You said like if you're spending too much time blasting, you start feeling embarrassed or whatnot. And maybe that's because
yeah,
you're double activated play and you're like pinging off the tribe, and then you can see their like reaction, and you start seeing that they're losing them. That's when you're like, okay, stop. Let's use play and bring everyone back to the fold again, right? When you're like
yes,
those embarrassing consume blast people, no offense. That just keeps blasting. You're like, you just lost everyone. Like people are
yeah,
shutting down already, right? So
yeah, yeah. No, I'm very sensitive to that. Like yeah, the play energy of communication is way more natural and enjoyable for me. And if it's a situation, I've even had like jobs where I was like teaching people, I just sucked because I just ramble. I go on so many topics. I get like insecure when I can tell they're not paying attention. Like it's just so hard. I'd rather have, yeah, the interactive kind of play, like communication style. Yeah.
let's talk about play, since we are already on topic. Your play is NT, just like mine, so we have the same play. We both have it double activated. I have it as my first animal. You have it as your second. Regardless, it's
Mhm.
gonna be, you know, pretty abusive, I would say, because we both have it as
Yeah.
a savior. And you know what I noticed? Because I went to like a meetup long time ago that David Chan held in Seattle in the
Yeah.
US. And like there
Mhm.
was this girl there. She's an ENFP. Her name's Elizabeth. I interviewed her actually. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to talk to her before. She's consumed play blast sleep also. And
Okay.
she was easily the most extroverted person in the whole place, even though she was lead consume. And the way
Yeah.
they
Okay.
the way they described it was the ones who are self-above tribe, when they start talking, they don't stop because they don't feel like they need permission from the tribe to just keep going. So they have this like
Yeah.
abusive play that just doesn't stop. And
Hmm.
it like overwhelms everyone. And maybe you're still aware because you're a double decider, but then you still
Mm.
can't stop doing it because you're still DI, right? So you have to get your part out, you know. So in your case, you are a number four, so you do care about people a lot and whatnot. Uh, what's your take on play? Is your play like super abusive also, would you say, or is it kind of more toned down? Or I mean, you do have masculine TE, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I think I've definitely had problems where I can be a bit obnoxious. And I guess I've kind of had to like tone it down at times as I've gotten older, and I kind of, became a bit more like, socially anxious or whatever. But even as a kid, I've always been was like a huge chatterbox, couldn't shut me up. Love just like bantering with people, talking shit, provoking people, like that thing. And also it's like how I learn as well, or sometimes it's how I make decisions. I'll like have an idea about what I think, and then I need the tribe's input. Um, and like I've had times where I just like will want someone to respond before I go ahead and make a decision, and they don't respond. And I get so fucking angry. I'm
right,
like, if you right now, you don't want to fucking complain to me because I told you this. This is like I want you to respond, and you ignored me. Like I feel like that's an area where it can be a bit like, okay, all right,
right.
like play with me. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that sounds like the masculine TE in your side, like the way you described it. But your other description definitely resonated with me when you said you like to provoke people. And I'm like, oh my
Mm.
God. And I'm like, oh my God, I do that all the time. I'm always
I'm
provoking people. And I feel like that's like an anti-play thing. Like you just for some reason you like to trigger people as an anti-play, you know. It's like the opposite of let's say NF. I think like NF play, they're trying to get like an emotional reaction from people. But like
mm.
it could be a good emotional reaction as long as there's an emotional reaction. But like, I feel like with the NT play, it's like, no, we want someone to get mad or triggered. There's like something
Yeah.
amusing about that.
Yes, no, totally. I like to get this is really bad. This is the abusive play. Sometimes, like I've had it with like people, my family or like ex-partners. I will like to just push their buttons to the point where I can tell they're about to like get mad, but then I crack a joke and then they laugh and like I'm like, oh, I got you. Like it's that kind of
Right.
like jokester, just tormenting, like cheeky devil thing that
Right.
drives people nuts.
Because the play is also NT, would you say when you are talking shit with people with that play, it's in a sense that you're trying to make them look stupid because it's NT, right?
Oh, I'm just trying to think. I think normally for me, I notice it more with humor in my play. Like that could just be like an FI thing in general. Um, like I think it's more like inside jokes. Or sometimes I like to say things that I know are stupid um to confuse people. Like, and then maybe that's me being like, haha, they're dumb. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like kind of, yeah, I'm not sure if it's like I don't really that I'm aware of like to make people feel stupid. I notice with my like masculine TE, I very quickly swing to like Karen energy sometimes, and I'll be like, if it's like I don't know someone I don't really know did something, I'll be like, they're fucking dumb, and then I'll be like, oh wait, hang on, calm down. No, they're not. Like I have that kind of,
Right.
but wait, more just like banter, inside jokes, um, just like saying crazy, like unhinged things that
Yeah.
come to mind.
Right. Totally get it. Um,
Mm,
something that you said made me laugh a little bit inside when you said what was the thing that you said? Right, the inside joke thing, right?
mm,
So I feel like with anti-play, I don't know if you do this, but like one thing I've noticed with myself, and I do think other ENFPs are doing this also, is
yeah.
they like I think those with lead NE likes to fuck around with like the leads SE people. Cause like they take things at face value. So you'll say something and then you'll be like, I wonder if they'll like catch like the hidden meaning to what I'm saying, you
Mm,
know? And if they don't catch it, you're like, gotcha, you moron, like kind of like
yeah, I I'm like, oh, I miss them. It's fine. But then I find it funny. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely know that. Or when someone else maybe has like NE or like, like sort of like some like intuition dominant or whatever,
Yeah.
they can kind of pick up on the meanings more.
Right.
But definitely people in my life where I'll like joke about something, um, just because I don't care about, the SE things is not even on my mind. And then they're
Yeah.
just like, what? Now talk me through it step by step. And I'm like, no, no, no.
Well, I like how Dave said that if the person is faster than you at like talking shit, they're probably lead NE, It's like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
the NE is fast. And I did notice like when I talk to lead sensory people, like when I say sensory, especially extrovert sensing, is they seem to have trouble connecting the dots like NE people do. So it seems like it's like a superpower that we take for granted that we don't even know it's like a superpower. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of obvious that this is connected to this, but I guess it's not,
Mm,
right? Um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and then I guess you can use the SI to kind of like bridge the gap to make it even more easy to understand. Because like, the power of NE is making sure that the tribe understands, right? It's like responsible for understanding. So if you see that,
Mhm.
oh, this person is a sensory person, you probably don't get the NE or the intuition. You can use the SI
Mm,
examples to support your concepts and whatnot. And then they're like, oh, I get it, or the connections per se, right? Do you see yourself doing that?
no, not enough.
Okay.
Like, I can sometimes, like, if I, yeah, I think most of the time, or it takes me a while, I have to really stop and be like, okay, like it can be hard for me to explain the concepts that I'm talking about,
Right.
unless like I've had friends who I think are probably similar types to me, and we just like bounce off each other constantly. It's easy, but certain people, I'm like, okay, I have to sit down and really pinpoint what it is. But a lot of the time, I think I'm not really good at explaining myself because I just talk in like abstract
Right.
land. Or maybe I'm better than I think. I just am hard on myself. I don't know. But yeah, doesn't seem like it comes naturally to me.
I think my gut tells me you're probably better than you think because you have double masculine ST blast. So I don't think it's gonna be as poor as like an ENFP with blast last, for example.
Yeah.
Or someone that has like feminine, blast, for example, like double feminine ST blast, right? Um,
Yeah.
have you ever been in a teaching role where you had to teach people and stuff, and you're responsible for making sure everyone understands what's being uh taught or not?
Yeah, a couple times. I used to be a guitar teacher when I was like a like teenager, like early 20s. And that was hard, especially because like I know a lot of the kids didn't want to be there and it was hard to like keep their attention and I didn't really want to be there either.
Right.
And it's pretty hard for me to really, I know I felt like this could be a consume thing as well. I felt like I didn't know enough to be teaching these people. I
Right.
felt like I was bullshitting and making it all up. But then everyone else was like, oh no, like you're really good. And I'm like, am I? I feel like I can't keep these people's attention. And even I have another job where we do like guided bike rides around Sydney. And sometimes I will like have to like explain to people like, okay, this is where we're stopping now, or we're going here. And I can tell like I just like ramble a bit too much. But yeah, but then also when my ADHD is properly medicated, I find I can really like knuckle down and actually like my brain slows enough where I can
Right.
think about what I'm that seems to work more. Um, but so like it's possible, and especially with like my current job, like my bike riding job, it's like something I want to work on and it feels plausible.
What kind of ADHD do you have? There's like three kinds,
Uh,
right?
pardon?
There's three kinds. So which one do you have?
Um, I think I have like a mixed bag, like inattentive, hyperactive, like because isn't the other one combined? Yeah.
Yeah. So you have
But yeah,
combined.
yeah. The guy, the psych guy was like, yeah, you've got it bad. You've got both sides of the coin.
You have it
Yeah.
severe on both sides, both both the inattentive and hyperactive.
Yeah, I think when I was a kid it showed up more hyperactive, but now as I've gotten older, I kind of learned how to hide the hyperactivity a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I've gotten like my diagnosis and I realize how much effort I was putting into like trying to be normal, I have like stopped,
Right.
and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, my brain is like crazy. Like it never stops. Like,
Right.
yeah,
I think I did read that as you get older, the hyperactive starts to dwindle, but the inattentive gets worse apparently. Like that's what I read.
yeah,
So
yeah.
which could be good for you because you're sleep lost. So that might be a good thing that you're like, going inside more.
Yes, I might need more of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I have the same as you. I have the combined type ADHD also.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Pretty
Um,
proud, I think.
sorry?
Pretty common for ENFPs, I think, to
Yeah,
have
I
like
I'm,
88.
I wouldn't be surprised if all ENFPs or like even ENTPs have it. Like, or anyone that has like lead NE in general, even the INTPs and INFPs, right? Um,
Yeah.
so you said that you were more crazy with the hyperactive thing when you were younger. Would you say
Mm.
it's correlated with you being lead kinesthetic? Like you just have to move, fidget, like touch.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this today because when I was like reading like the descriptions and that and like going back over what it meant, because I thought I was audio for sure because I've always been really into music and stuff.
Right.
How? Um, but yeah, like even growing up, it was like a running joke in my family that I break everything. I just like it's just how I like I just have no sense of like being gentle with objects.
Right.
Yeah, I what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, whenever I learn how to like build furniture, for example, I like will try and read the instructions, but I just don't understand what they're talking about until I have to do it myself, and then I have to fuck it up a few times, and I have to get really angry, and then I have to maybe like yell at it or kick it or something, and then it works. Like that's just how my brain does it.
Wow.
Like
That's
times
crazy.
my mom will be like, just be gentle. Like, there's no need to be so rough. Like, other people are like, why are you yelling at this inanimate object? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's like I have to do that, like, get that out. And then, like, I can think rationally about it. Or I just have to kind of see how, okay, so I broke it that way. All right. Well, now this is how I fix it. I don't know. It's so weird, but yeah.
So you kind of
And
have
even,
to get that pent up energy out first before you can function normally or
yeah,
something?
it's just a feeling of like, yeah, I have to just really, even when people explain things to me, like, this is how you get to this place, or this is how you put this thing together. I'm like, there's no point. I just have to jump in. This could kind of be a blast thing, maybe too.
Yeah.
And then I have to learn it myself. Um, and yeah, I've always had it, even like, I think I saw in one of the videos, they said it was very common for drummers to be like double masculine because I've always had like, been like kind of like naturally inclined to music. And as a kid, I was always bashing on tables with like pencils, drumming and stuff. Like we still have like marks all on our coffee table from me just like bashing the shit out of it, like stuff like that. It kind of makes sense now that I would be like
Funny.
kinesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like working out then or playing sports?
I've never been sporty. No, definitely that. My dad was very sporty, but that missed me. Um, I think it was more like, yeah, music. Now that I'm older, um, I do, I kind of see it more as like, I like to work out as like a like emotional regulation, especially having like ADHD. It like my time job, like because I'm a postman, it's like very active, and like I've had this whole month off and I've realized like, oh wow, because I'm not doing that every day, I feel like shit, and my hyperactivity has gotten worse. Like, I think that's something like I need to move more than what I realize a lot of the times. Um, but I wouldn't say it's like my favorite thing in the world.
Oh, I see. So it's like it's a
Mm.
means to an end, not so much like something that you look forward to.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Like I do enjoy like I do yoga sometimes and stuff, and that's good. Like because it kind of quietens the any crazy mind.
Sure.
But I think, yeah, I've never really liked sports, more for the, I don't know, I'm not really a competitive person. Maybe that's my type 4 coming out or something.
Oh, that makes sense. Right. The type 4. Right.
I like when people are like, all right, like someone gets competitive, this is like a flex last thing, maybe too. I'm like, fuck off, you're being ridiculous. Like, get over yourself. I'm not participating in this. I'm too good for this. I'm above competition. Like I get so like snobby about it
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I have demon flex, but like I think competition is fun. I think it's like a tribe bonding thing, competition.
Yeah.
I don't see it as like oh, it's so bad. And when people start like getting really cocky or arrogant, I think it's like hilarious. Like for me personally, I think it's
Yeah.
like funny. But that's just me. So that would make sense though why like competition is not like your thing as like a number four. Which we'll touch more on that later on as we discuss your type. Um,
Yeah.
so I want to talk about your sleep last since we brought it up, and um, I'll go back to the ADHD thing again in a bit, but like for the sleep last, there's different dimensions to it. I don't know if you saw the video I made on like my progress working on my sleep last.
I think
But
classic ENFP fashion. I was going through your channel and I watched a bit of it and then I got distracted by another interview. So I didn't
okay.
actually process anything, but I
Oh,
started.
no worries, dude. Anyways, so in that video, I kind of like showed like all the different dimensions of sleep last. Like there's like the SF side to it. There's the health routine.
Oh
There's
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you saw all like those boxes and stuff. So I wanted to ask you because you have those as well, like same as me. That I want to go through all of them because you're sleep last also. Let's start with the first aspect, which is processing your deep emotions. So with when it comes to deep emotions, there's like an SI word specifically for those emotions, and then like there's usually like a recurring emotion that it's almost like NI, like a pattern of emotion, but like it's like a specific word though um that you would be struggling with. So in the video that I made, I kind of mentioned like, oh, frustration, feeling overwhelmed, feeling
Mhm.
disrespected, anger from feeling disrespected. Those are
Mm.
like some of the big ones, like the big three, I would say for me. What would you say would be like the big three emotions that for the past few years or even just this year that you personally feel like you have struggled with?
Definitely. I mean, so much anxiety, like overwhelm. Yeah. And also I think anger, maybe when I was younger, I've gotten a little bit better with that as I've gotten older. Um, yeah, overwhelm, sadness, as well. I kind of, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just angry. And then I realize I'm sad. And that's something that comes up a lot. And yeah, kind of like helplessness sometimes, especially when like the sensory world, like SI stuff gets out of hand because I let it end. I feel, yeah, like helpless. Yeah.
Well, let's go deep into that one. That sounds interesting. The sensory world. So, hopeless, right? Is it like helpless? Did you say or hopeless?
Yeah.
Did you say helpless or hopeless?
Yeah. Helpless. Like,
Helpless.
yeah, like help me. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is it about the sensory world that makes you feel like helpless? Like besides the fact that it obviously is your fourth function in the bottom, right? But like, what about it like makes you feel helpless?
I think, well, I mean, a few examples I can think of. Um, like if I see, and this is kind of like I can see how the NE also kind of feeds off this. It's like there's something off in my environment. I can't unsee all the possibilities of what it could like lead to. Like for example, say like I know there's a cockroach in my room. Now I'm like it's in my room somewhere, and I can't get rid of it, and I can hear it scratching, and it's gonna breed in my room and like make more of them, and then I'm gonna wake up and they're gonna be crawling in my ears, like that kind of thing. My brain just like flips the fuck out. Um, and I think as well, sometimes I feel like because my brain doesn't slow down, I can't really like prioritize what needs to be done. So I feel kind of like a lost little kid sometimes. I'm like,
Right.
how am I an adult? Like living alone at a home? Like, how did I get here? I feel like I need my mom, like help.
Yeah.
Like, I yeah, like incompetent. Yeah, in like the sensory daily experience of things sometimes.
Okay, first off, I really way too hard when you talked about the cockroach thing, like way too hard, especially I'm dealing with it right now. So I totally get you in that aspect. Um, when you said that you need your parents, essentially, is that your feminine FI? Like you feel like you're like a, like a kid inside, essentially,
Yeah, because yeah, like I kind of only realized how much that was there recently because I always kind of felt that, but I felt like ashamed about it. And that's
Yeah.
also probably more FI stuff. But lately I'm like, you know what? Like I am really overwhelmed and I have a pretty good relationship with my parents. I should be able to reach out to them if I'm feeling stressed and I don't have to be ashamed for it.
Right.
Like there's a that kind of layer to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful thing if you have a good relationship with your family, right? Yeah, because most people don't, so it's like it's like an awesome thing. The prioritizing thing, I think, so that's like another aspect of the SF sleep, right?
Yes.
Let's yeah, channel change a little bit to that aspect. So I learned that prioritizing is also correlated with like ADHD, and those with ADHD have like garbage prioritization. So like, you have the combined type, so do I. So my psychologist, who I think is an INFJ, said, "Yeah, you have bad prioritizing because of your ADHD." I'm like, ah. So, do you feel like when you take the meds? By the way, which med do you take for ADHD?
Um, oh, at the moment I'm on Ritalin, but it's so bad it doesn't really work. But I'm switching to hopefully Vyvanse or dexamphetamine next week because that I've had that in the past and that works perfect. But I just decided to change. It's a long story, but yeah, hopefully
Oh,
Vyvanse soon.
okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Vyvanse right now.
Mm,
But
yeah,
I only take it once a week because I don't want to get addicted to it or like be reliant because I feel like if you can't execute without this pill, like you're kind of like reliant on this. Now you can't function without it, right? So I don't want to what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, your brain, it like creates those connections and whatnot. So I don't want my brain to associate Vyvanse as like the only way I can function in life, you know?
yeah,
So I want to use it like once a week to like get ahead. So like the hardest task possible that I need to do, I'll take the Vyvanse. But if it's
hmm
like moderate um in level of challenge, I'll figure out a way to get around it, whether that be like, you know when you exercise, your dopamine level goes up, right? And then you can power through something. So I'll use those
yeah.
like more natural way or like yeah, more natural ways. So um with that being said, how often are you using the ADHD pills yourself? And do you feel like it's becoming a crutch for you to function, or do you think you can do it with you can do without?
I think with the Ritalin, like I think I'm being prescribed like 1 to 3 a day, but like I need more than that to function. But
Right.
it also doesn't really because I'm not working, I don't take it like every day. Um, but in terms of like Dexies and Vyvanse, I think I would take it every day because my quality of life just improves so much. And like I do have like addiction problems and stuff, and so I was worried about getting on the meds, but I've had like Dexies in the past, and I've actually felt that desire to like take more or like like do drugs or whatever like goes away. Like I could just sit in my room and not be overwhelmed. And I even had like friends be like, oh, we're going to go out and drink and all that, and I was like, oh, I actually don't want to. Like my brain feels calm and I feel like I could actually get my life together if I was medicated all the time. And then maybe down the road, if I've built some like solid foundations for myself, I could wean off it. But I think for like where I am now in life, just like, mid 20s, life's a bit crazy, like had a lot of stuff going on last year. I think it would help a lot. I would probably, yeah, like take Vyvanse once a day. Yeah.
Do you feel like it affects your sleep also? Because like for me, it makes my sleep worse, but I don't know about you. Some people apparently sleep better on it.
Yeah, no, definitely you have to. I've noticed with Vyvanse, if I take it too late, then I won't sleep. Um, Same with like Dexies as well. If I take it after like 3, there's no chance. Um, so yeah, it can affect that. Um, yeah, I've definitely noticed that. But I figure like for me, that's something I'm like, it's worth maybe having a bit more interrupted sleep for my overall just like intense anxiety and overall emotions to kind of be like back down to a functional level. I can like work around it somehow.
You know, my NA theory about ADHD is it's not really like an illness, in my opinion. I feel like if you look at our like caveman days, they the people with ADHD, they needed like the hit of dopamine if there's danger or whatnot. And then if you look at like all the different archetypes of personalities, right? Like, us being an ENFP, we're gatherers, right? So we're the ones that are going to be out and about, either gathering, fruits and vegetables, or hunting for food, or like, let's say meeting up with different tribes people, right?
Yeah,
So it's like when we're out and gathering, um the higher spike of dopamine gives us hyper focus, right? When like
yeah.
when shit hits the fan, essentially, right? So I think it's like
Hmm.
I don't think it's actually like a bad thing. I think it's actually like, I feel like it's pre-programmed in us, actually, so that we can function in those kind of situations, because the hyper focus does kick in when shit hits the fan. I don't know, do you feel that way for yourself, where like when shit hits the fan, you're like suddenly you're on, and then suddenly everything's clear, and then when everything's like good, now you're like, I can't function like a normal human being.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely get that. I think more so with other people, if it's a crisis situation with other people involved as well, then I'm pretty good. I will like switch on and be like, right, yeah, this is what needs to happen. But if it's something that I caused, like I will just be a mess. The amount of times in my like last house, I was like having a fucking EP freak out over shit that wasn't real. And then my other housemates would have to be like, Beck, just sit down. Let's get a notepad and write a to-do list. And I'm just like freaking out. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. With like other people or external stimulus. Yeah. And I've noticed that with other people in my life who I think are EPs as well.
That's funny that your friend's solution to you is SI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I think
funny.
that probably some kind of like, yeah, I don't know, probably SI, maybe sleep. They got more sleep energy, a bit more, cool, calm, collected. Yeah, which
Right.
is nice to, yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah, it does make sense to what you said, though. I think it's those with lead SE that would be better at like hunting and gathering, and then I think those with NE would be better at dealing with people. See, especially with NE, you can connect the dots, right? So if you're like talking to someone and they have like ulterior motive, you can kind of pick up on that. You're like, oh, you know,
Yes.
I like
Yeah.
I know you didn't say that sensory word for that, but I know that's what you're up to, Um,
Mhm.
do you have that when would you say when you talk to people?
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a lot of maybe not enough with myself sometimes. I
Right.
can kind of go and oh no, what maybe this will be better. But I've had a lot of that, like with maybe like a friend will introduce me to someone, or maybe like I know my sister or someone will be like, oh, here's my friend, and I'll just get like I can't, yeah, put words to it, but I just get a weird feeling. I'm like, you said that reminded me of someone else I met that did that same thing. And I feel like that pattern is going to go down this path.
Right.
And then when I explain it to people, they're like, no, you're overthinking it. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll wait and see.
Right.
We'll give it a few, come back to me.
And then what's the findings for you? Do you think it's like usually accurate when this kind of stuff that you see occur?
I, more often than not, a lot of the time I'm like, oh, maybe like I kind of gaslight myself too. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just overreacting. But I've had like some like certain experiences like recently with like people that I've had to like cut out of my life. And my intuition was like screaming it at me the whole time. But I was like doubting myself. And now I'm like, no, I'm always right. Like I've always had that. And it might not show up the same way, like over time, or like maybe I think it's harder when other people don't believe me or they don't see it as well.
Yeah.
But now I've like, yeah, it is normally right. Like eventually it might be 6 months, it might be 10 years. Like whatever that feeling is will come out. That person was like abusive or a shit person or was like cheating on someone or something. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I like to play around with that too, like the intuition, especially when like looking at other people's patterns and whatnot. Because I've been doing some interviews lately with different social types as well. And the one thing that I like talking to the number ones a lot, because they're like really they're more meticulous when it comes to like planning on how they're gonna become number one, right?
Yeah.
So it's like number four, you guys don't really have any like ulterior motives, but like the ones definitely do, right? So
Mhm.
the one thing I've noticed when I was talking to number ones during my interviews, that validated what is actually happening in my actual relationships with people was like the tribe above self number ones. If you're doing something that they're also doing and you're like starting to climb way too fast for their liking, they start getting really unhappy and they start saying things to you that would knock you down a few notches. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the self-above tribe people don't really do that from what I've seen, because but it's kind of like for them, they have like a kind of like a blind arrogance where like, I'm already so good. I don't need to like no one can compare to my level, right? Like I'm built different, kind of like that kind of mindset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like, and then I look at my friends who I perceive as number one. So I'm like, kind of doing the any experiment. I would say things like, for example, one of them would go up to me, right, at my workplace, like, "Oh, Kendrick, how's your, business thing doing?" If I say, same old, he'll be happy because, like, I didn't say I'm not going up. So I'm just watching. I'm like, I wonder how he's gonna react if I say this versus this, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like gathering the patterns of behavior, So
Oh,
it's like, oh, it's really interesting actually to see that, like, okay, like talk to number ones, number twos, number threes, and kind of like how they
mm.
see, um, you know, like you doing well versus their reaction, right? So it's just like very fascinating. But you're self-above tribe though, so I'm not sure if you see yourself doing that or maybe not at all.
Like doing the same thing as in like how you like get other people's patterns. Is that what you mean? Or
I'm getting people's patterns, but also like how they react to me based on the stuff that I say to them, you know. And then I'm kind of thinking, okay, if I say this is the reaction I get. And then eventually I know like there's like certain patterns that I know is gonna happen. Um, of how even the conversation is gonna go, which is kind of annoying being like lead any, right? Like you kind of know where the conversation is gonna go. So it's kind of annoying. Like you could predict almost.
I think I don't really do it consciously like you
Yeah.
do, but the same kind of thing happens where yeah, I might like say something different that day and then um I'll like look back over like certain patterns of behavior that person's had and I'm like, oh yeah, when they get really triggered when I point out this about them or when I bring up this topic and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind. Like I'm gonna have to tread carefully there or like certain things like that, but I don't really do it, yeah, consciously. I think it's more like I might get like a random tidal wave of like SI bringing it together and I'll have like an epiphany and be like, oh, that's what that means. It's more like
Right.
that. It just kind of to me.
Oh, I see.
Mm.
Um, I want to go back to the SF sleep before we channel change too much. What about the SF side of the SF sleep itself? Like the popular, cool, being presentable. You're number four, like what David's Chan say about number twos and fours is number twos and fours dress like shit, right? Like that's kind of what they said, right? What has
Yeah.
been your experience with that sentiment?
Um, I think like I've always been, I mean, I don't dress like amazingly, but I've always felt like I need to present decently. Like I've always been like, I've had some friends that are so fine with like, I don't know, going to the grocery store in like their pajamas or like just like their tracky dacks, just their pants and like casual clothes. But I'm like, I might see someone I know. I need to like at least look like I put this on
Yeah,
purpose. I don't want to be perceived in a bad outfit. Um, I definitely have that kind of thing in terms of like how I present, I guess. But I think other times as well, I kind of just try and block it out of my awareness because if I think about it too much, it'll like stress me out and I'll be like, oh my God, now I need to do this with my hair. Or I need to do that. Oh my
yeah.
God, it's too much.
Even SI still at the end of the day, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, All right. And the last thing about the SF sleep I want to talk to you about is your health routines. So, when it comes to health routines, there's like different aspects of it too, right? There's exercise, nutrition, mental health, and sleep, like physical sleep. So, how are you in those four different areas? And how is your SI routine for each of those?
At the moment, it is abysmal, like the worst it's been in years. I think I normally really outsource my routines to my job, like my full-time job. It's the same thing every day. I get up at 5:30, finish around 2 or 3. When I don't have that, it's so hard for me to get any sense of structure. Um, no matter how hard I try, I've been trying to like get up earlier and like book things earlier so I will go and then I just sleep through the alarms. Like it's really hard. I normally have to find some obligation externally to really like get out of bed. It might be work, or other times it's been like, oh, this could be the friends thing too. Like, oh, my friend and I, we're both going to go to the gym class today. So then it's like, I don't want to let them down. I have to go. I have noticed I kind of, yeah, the only way I can sort of get around that is to like outsource it, or just accept that it's going to shit.
Right. Well, I like your honesty. So that's the first step, I think, to making
Yeah.
improvement. Be like, yeah, I'm shit at this, and that's where I am. Um,
Hmm.
all right, I want to switch for the last topic for our interview. The last thing I want to discuss is your social type. You're a 4, so that means you are lead friends followed by specialization. What's that like for you? Be having relationship first above everything else, followed by when you do go to work, you like to specialize. And just to add on to the specialization thing, a lot of number 4s are actually amazing at specializing because you guys actually take your work very seriously.
Mm.
So how do you personally experience those two parts of your savior social types?
I can see, I don't see specialization as much, but I see how being friends savior has kind of caused a lot of problems, probably because like maybe I had friends with people who were different social types, and I felt like I just naturally, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll help you out with this, I will do this for you, or um, I might just like prioritize helping them out because they're my friend, and then they don't really do the same for me, and then I kind of feel like I've been taken advantage of, so I've kind of had to like become more conscious of that recently and be like, oh, like if you're like, and I think it could also maybe be like a swing to the responsibility thing. I've had a few of those tidal waves where like especially in like share house environments in the past, I get stuck doing all the like paying the bills or doing all this or the logistics of moving and stuff because I was too nice and like wanted to help out and be a good friend. And then I have like a mental breakdown because I'm stuck dealing with like the responsibility of things. Um, that's kind of the main thing I've noticed so far. And I think as well, like, even though, I mean, ENFPs can be likable, but I feel like sometimes, they can be obnoxious. And even my like Enneagram type is like pretty obnoxious. But I think being a 4 kind of makes me more, yeah, like it's surprised sometimes when people are like, oh no, you're really friendly and likable. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I think it kind of sort of mitigates some of the more obnoxious traits that I have. Um, but yeah, and in terms of specialize, I mean, see, I don't really care about my job that much. It's just like something I do because I can go there and consume more like things or whatever, and I get money. Um, I don't really like see how much like how I am doing that. I guess maybe I haven't processed it enough. But yeah, I kind of see it sometimes in like a group setting where someone needs help with something. I can like really hone in on like this task they need done, um, and like step up for them and like do that. But in terms of like my own specializing, I'm pretty bad. Like I do music and stuff, but I find it hard to get the motivation to like focus long enough to like finish a song or start and making an EP. Stuff for myself is a bit harder. Yeah.
I think you described perfectly what number 4s go through, because I think one
Mm.
of the big one of the best cross checks for number 4s is not missing responsibility. So the fact that you reluctantly still do it for on behalf of everyone else, and especially I think maybe people see that subconsciously that you have double masculine ST blast, that you can do it, right? Um,
Yeah.
that like you can handle like paying the bills and all this stuff. Um,
Hmm.
so you mentioned also like the lack of motivation. My last question for you for our interview is flex last. What are some problems would you say that you've had for yourself for being a number 4, which is correlated with having low drive to achieve, essentially, right? Um, is that something that you wish you had more of? Like you wish you were more success oriented and status oriented, or is that something you're like, you know what? I'm happy being uh being a friendly person that has lots of friends and, have a stable job that pays the bills and you can do your consume, you can chase your hobbies essentially, which is what number fours do. Or is that like a part of you? It's like, I wish I was more of like that, cutthroat go-getter.
I think like, I don't know, I don't care for like status or anything really. I think it's all like dumb. And like I kind of feel myself get triggered when other people are like that. But at the same time, I like also respect their ability to do that. And I know I need more of that. I'm never gonna be, like a number one or whatever. Um, but I feel like, yeah, sometimes I don't advocate for myself enough, like as a person, and even like um with like my own like music and stuff, I should just kind of, yeah, like have more faith in myself or drive to believe that, what I'm making is like decent and um kind of, yeah, if I was more goal oriented, I guess I would get more shit done. um but at the end of the day, I mean, while I love like making music and everything, I feel much happier just like being surrounded by good people. And then, I can go off and do my own stuff when I'm like satisfied with, the play energy and everything. Then I'm like, okay, now I can go alone and make music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned you get triggered about like the stuff that number ones do or behave because like my girlfriend's number four also, right? Even though she's an INTJ. And she gets so triggered by it. I'm like, why do you get triggered by this? I actually think it's like hilarious. It's like, oh, this person's
Yeah.
like arrogant or like they have ulterior motives. And I'm like, so what's wrong with that? I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the problem? Like,
I get so,
yeah, because for me, I'm like, I'm number two, right? So I'm like, what's the problem? Like, yeah, the person's arrogant. Yes, the person's full of themselves. Yes, they're fake. So what's the problem? Like,
oh no, I hate it so much. I think, yeah, one of my ex-partners was probably a number one, and that's where we clashed the most, was that whole like whenever she would just be like, oh, I'm so good or whatever, I'd always be like, okay, all right. Or like I would refuse to like validate her when she said it. I would just look at her like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
yeah,
Like I don't know. I'm just like, why are you being so fucking arrogant?
yeah,
Like, yeah, I those people scare me. I think as well because at looking back, a lot of number ones, because I'm like having like the feminine FI and everything, I can be a fucking doormat as well. And I'm so easily manipulated by people if I like them. And it's something I've had to work on. I think it's also like a fear response sometimes. I'm like, that person could ruin me.
right.
Like, I need to stay.
Yeah, no, totally. I always have to remind my girlfriend, I'm like, don't get fooled by people. You always have to be um not suspicious per se is the right word, but um you cannot take things at face value because people have ulterior motives and you need to, I'm not saying put a wall up, but I'm just saying like don't be quick to say this person is your friend, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at this person first and see what they're like first. Yes, you can be friends with a pretentious, you know, number one who's fake and has ulterior motive. I actually have friends like that, and I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me. I think it's hilarious. But because for my girlfriend, it's like totally like, no, I can't stand those people. No friends like that. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
They're great. I love those people. They're so funny. Like they're so full of them. So I love it. I So it's like, um, so but so for me, it's like what's the problem? Like what's the problem with those people? Like, but like I get what you're saying though. Like they can ruin you, especially if you're number four and you're like kind of like, oh, you're friendly, you're open and stuff. And if you're not, and then you obviously you don't want to have to be careful when you're dealing with people, right? You just wish that every interaction is authentic, but
Yeah.
unfortunately it's like not, right? Like you're dealing with different personality types and there's gonna be like ulterior motives.
Yeah, I think the ulterior motives, like I know I had like a big friends tidal wave, I think recently, where I like just realized, yeah, a lot of my like friends didn't really have my best interests at heart. And I remember saying, like I feel dumb and naive because I pretty much always say what I mean. I don't like to have ulterior motives. I like to be real and authentic, and I care about people. But I feel like so much stuff came out where I was like, oh, they had ulterior motives and they lied about that. and it just fucked with me. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I would rather lose a lot of friends and like go through a period of loneliness than have to like endure that again. It was like really triggering. Yeah.
That's so interesting, like how
Mm.
the number fours perceive this kind of like interactions and relationships. Because for me, when I see a number one and they're going like batshit crazy with their like ego and stuff, what I do, because like I'm a high play, right? So I'll get all my friends and like I'm like, okay, like tell me where you've succeeded lately. So I'll ask my friend, right? So he'll like, make a list of like stuff that he's succeeded. And then so will I, things I'm doing well in. So I'll get like a bunch of tribe members to like get a list. We'll hang out with that number one friend and we bomb that person at the same time. And then that person's like over what do you call it? Short circuiting. I was like, oh my God, this is the best. I love it. And then when the person's like gone and they're like, they look so defeated, me and my friends were like high-fiving each other, like, yes, it's so good. This is so good. And it sounds kind of mean, but like, hey, maybe chill out being a number one then.
Yeah, no, I respect that. I wish I had more of a backbone to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll say that next time.
Yeah, totally you should. It's like the best thing ever. And especially you like to like fuck with people. So it's like perfect. It's like absolute like the greatest joy. I know it sounds horrible to see a number one short circuit, but it's like the best thing ever. It's just like so good, you know.
That'll be fine. I'll get over it.
Yeah. Yeah, unless they're a decider, maybe. Just kidding. All right, Beck, thanks for coming out and sharing more about yourself. And yeah, take care.
Ooh, thank you.
All right. Good luck with the cockroaches.
Oh, thank you.